Oh.
In the United States, rat and mouse populations represent one of the most silent, yet damaging problems faced by agriculture. Studies from the USDA estimate that the direct and indirect losses caused by these animals exceed $19 billion per year. These costs include not only food consumed or destroyed, but also damage to infrastructure, public health, and livestock productivity. In Texas, a state with vast areas dedicated to grain, cotton, and cattle production, the problem is even more evident. Rodents find ideal conditions for proliferation in corn and wheat silos, cattle feed storage, and barns with constant access to food and water. A single pair of rats can produce up to 2,000 offspring over the course of a year, which explains how infestations spread quickly and become nearly uncontrollable. The damages go far beyond direct consumption. Sacks are destroyed by sharp teeth, wooden structures suffer continuous wear, and chewed electrical wires can cause short circuits and fires in storage facilities. In addition, every rat leaves behind urine and feces, contaminating feed and food intended both for livestock and for human consumption. This contamination leads to losses that exceed the value of wasted food, as entire batches must often be discarded due to sanitary risk. The most concerning aspect is linked to health. Rats and mice are vectors of several diseases, including leptospirosis, salmonellosis, and hantavirus. In rural environments, these pathogens can spread quickly among cattle, swine, and poultry, compromising the production of meat, milk, and eggs. A large-scale outbreak represents not only direct financial losses, but also a threat to food security and to the health of rural communities. For these reasons, rodent control is considered an essential element in maintaining the agricultural competitiveness of Texas and, ultimately, the economy of the United States. Rodent control has always been a constant challenge for agricultural societies. In the United States, since the early days of colonization, farmers had to deal with infestations that directly threatened grain storage, livestock health, and rural community safety. Before the widespread use of chemical pesticides in the 20th century, one of the most effective solutions was the use of specially trained dogs to hunt rats. The preference was for small to medium-sized animals, equipped with agility, courage, and great physical endurance. Unlike guard dogs or herding dogs, whose roles were to protect or drive livestock, rat hunting dogs were selected for very specific attributes: speed in chasing small prey, the ability to enter tunnels and narrow holes, sharp reflexes, and a nearly continuous predatory instinct. These characteristics did not emerge by chance. They were the result of centuries of selective breeding, first in Europe and later adapted to North American rural conditions. In Victorian England, there were already reports of ratting competitions, where terriers eliminated dozens of rats within minutes. This practice was not only a form of entertainment, but also reinforced the usefulness of these breeds in rural settings. With the migration of European settlers to the United States, dogs with these traits were brought along and employed on farms as early as the 18th century. The agricultural life of Texas, marked by vast barns, silos, and extensive cattle operations, provided an ideal setting for the work of these animals. Their ability to operate in groups became a decisive advantage. While some dogs flushed rodents from hiding places, others waited to capture them as soon as they attempted to escape. This collective strategy multiplied efficiency, turning small packs of terriers into true biological control tools. Over generations, breeds such as the rat terrier, developed in the United States itself, emerged precisely from the need for a dog adapted to the American rural environment. Others, like the Jack Russell Terrier and the Patterdale Terrier, came from the United Kingdom and found in Texas the perfect stage for their abilities. Over time, these dogs stopped being merely improvised helpers and began occupying a formal role in rural management. Their function, often passed from farm to farm as part of local agricultural culture, became consolidated as an economic and sustainable alternative to the exclusive use of traps and poisons. In Texas, 4 terrier breeds stand out in the fight against rodents. Each carries its own history, shaped by the human need to protect agricultural production from pests. The rat terrier is the symbol of the American farm dog, originated in the United States in the 19th century, from the crossbreeding of English terriers with local breeds. It was selected to be fast, intelligent, and versatile. It weighs between 10 and 25 pounds, reaches up to 18 inches in height, and has a short coat, well suited for the Texas heat. In barns and silos, it acts as an attentive hunter, sniffing out hidden burrows and eliminating rats with precision. Its physical endurance makes it ideal for daily work on farms. The Jack Russell Terrier was developed in Victorian England by Reverend John Russell to pursue foxes in their dens. Compact and muscular, it weighs an average of 15 pounds and measures up to 15 inches. Its energy seems inexhaustible. It enters narrow holes, hunts in debris and hay bales, and attacks with explosive speed. It is less adapted to extreme heat, but its intensity compensates for this. When working in groups, it can eliminate dozens of rodents in just a few minutes. The Patterdale Terrier came from northern England, in the Lake District region, where it was used to hunt foxes and badgers in rugged terrain. It arrived in the United States in the 20th century, and found in Texas fertile ground to demonstrate its strength. It weighs between 11 and 15 pounds, has a compact body and powerful jaws. Unlike other breeds, it was bred not for looks but for working efficiency. It is tireless, determined, and has a high pain threshold. It is ideal for areas with heavy infestations, where speed must combine with force. In collective hunts, it is the one that holds and neutralizes more resistant prey. The Border Terrier completes the group. Developed along the border between England and Scotland, it hunted foxes that attacked sheep herds. It has a long body, narrow chest, and an otter-like head. It weighs up to 16 pounds and measures about 16 inches. Its wiry coat protects it in harsh terrain. Unlike the others, it is more steady than explosive. It works well alone or in groups and excels in open rocky areas, which are common in parts of Texas. Each breed carries unique advantages. The Rat Terrier is versatile and adapted to heat. The Jack Russell is explosive and fast in confined spaces. The Patterdale combines strength and tenacity, ideal for large infestations. The Border Terrier endures long working hours, efficient in difficult terrain. Together, these four breeds form a biological arsenal against rodents. In rural environments of the United States, rodent presence is most intense in areas with abundant food and shelter. Hay storage, grain barns, and cattle pens with leftover feed represent primary concentrations of these pests. This is the setting where rat-hunting dogs are deployed. Their release is strategic, directed at areas previously mapped by farmers, where nocturnal rodent activity is greatest. Packwork is marked by a division of functions. Dogs with the sharpest sense of smell focus on locating nests and underground roots. More agile animals with quick reflexes position themselves at narrow passages, acting as blockers. The more resistant specimens take on the capture role, directly attacking when rats attempt to escape. This organization is not strictly trained, but is the result of instinct, repeated practice, and selective breeding across generations. In nighttime operations, especially on medium and large-scale farms, records indicate that a pack of fewer than 10 dogs can eliminate between 150 and 250 rats in just a few hours. These numbers far exceed the efficiency of conventional mechanical traps, which capture on average a single rodent per device in a 24-hour cycle. Moreover, unlike chemical rodenticides, which pose risks to raptors, herding dogs, and even dairy cattle, the use of dogs drastically reduces the chance of secondary poisoning. Another key factor is environmental impact. Using dogs prevents soil and water contamination by toxic compounds found in commercial baits, preserving not only animal health but also human food safety. For farmers, this balance translates into direct savings. It is estimated that rodent damage in U.S. agricultural areas causes losses exceeding $20 billion annually, including grain storage losses, damage to wooden infrastructure, and the spread of disease. Hunting with dogs does not completely eliminate the threat, but it represents a highly effective control measure when integrated with other rural management practices. Rodent control in agricultural areas of the United States has historically relied on three main strategies: chemical rodenticides, mechanical traps, and, more recently, the systematic use of hunting dogs. Each method presents advantages and limitations that must be evaluated according to farm scale, crop type, and environmental risks. Rodenticides remain the most widely employed method. Second-generation anticoagulant compounds such as bromadiolone and difethiolone offer high mortality rates, capable of reducing local populations by up to 90% after several application cycles. However, their cost is high, especially for farms with large grain storage or extensive pastures. Beyond financial issues, there is the risk of indirect contamination. Cattle, horses, and poultry can ingest residues present in stored feed, while natural predators, such as owls and hawks, often die from consuming poisoned rodents. This collateral damage disrupts ecological balance and generates additional losses for farmers. Mechanical traps, on the other hand, provide a more selective method free of toxins. Pressure traps or multiple capture models are relatively inexpensive and reusable. However, their large-scale effectiveness is limited. Each device covers a restricted area, requires frequent monitoring, and demands constant maintenance for the removal of captured animals. On properties with hundreds of acres, the human effort required to sustain such a system becomes impractical, leading to insufficient coverage. Working terriers, when integrated into rural management, represent an alternative with low operational costs after the initial training phase. Expenses are focused on breeding, feeding, and basic veterinary care, but performance tends to remain stable throughout the animal's working life. Unlike traps, dogs act dynamically, responding to changes in pest behavior and hunting in hard-to-reach places. Furthermore, unlike rodenticides, they leave no chemical residues in the environment, eliminating the risk of contamination for cattle, domestic poultry, or natural predators. This comparison highlights a growing trend among American farmers: the combined use of methods, but with dogs playing an increasingly central role, especially on farms seeking to reduce costs and environmental risks without sacrificing effectiveness in pest control. In rural Texas, the use of terrier dogs for rat hunting remains an essential resource for both agriculture and livestock production. It is a tradition inherited from European immigrants who, since the 19th century, introduced specialized breeds for pest control in rural environments. Over time, this heritage became consolidated as a part of North American agricultural management, not only for its historical value, but above all for its proven efficiency. The presence of these dogs on Texas farms highlights the integration between traditional knowledge and contemporary necessity. More than instinctive hunters, they function as tools of sustainable management, directly protecting grain reserves, preserving herds, and safeguarding agricultural structures such as barns and silos. Their use reduces significant losses that, on a statewide scale, reach billions of dollars. In Texas alone, agriculture and livestock generate more than $150 billion annually, and the vulnerability caused by rodents represents not just an inconvenience, but a direct economic risk for producers. The efficiency of this method also stands out for its continuous and adaptive nature. Unlike artificial systems that require constant replenishment, dogs adjust to environmental variations, hunting across different terrains and responding to changes in pest behavior. This dynamism makes the use of terriers not only a practical solution, but also a resource that remains relevant, even in the face of technological advancements in farming. A context where the balance between productivity and sustainability is increasingly decisive. The employment of hunting dogs reaffirms its value. In Texas, this practice represents the combination of historical tradition with modern economic strategy, contributing to the preservation of agricultural assets and ensuring the continuity of a sector that remains one of the pillars of the American economy.